start streaming, go. And we kind of like little recap, right? So Roma, can you tell us how equalizers work? Не, я шучу, я шучу. Я шучу, но если хочешь нам сказать.
No, we can discuss it, guys. You also know. Yeah.
Ah, we have here a desk. We don't need this, so let me just switch this off. We have. So. Great. So guys, давай, let's focus 1 second. We are already in the lecture, so and I cannot stay longer. And let's go. So, I think that with a board, I'm just gonna make a little recap of what we spoke last week. Remember, like yeah, equalizers work because they were created so we can send less energy on a cable, and that's really cool. And then we can compensate for it later. And they work thanks to Mr. Fourier, as usual. So what I was trying to say last week is that imagine that I have a signal, like let's say an input here. I hope that this is a good marker. I think that the guys online cannot see me drawing there, but damn it, yeah. Oh, this is so dangerous, dangerous, dangerous. No, it's not gonna disconnect. Yeah, so great. So guys, let's do it. Let's do this. Give me just a bit of attention, or go out to party outside. So I was saying something kind of like, hey, you know, I have an input signal, and that input signal looks like this. And then I can take something. I'm gonna demonstrate it now on the computer. I mean, I know that some of you, or to all of you, I don't know, these principles are really clear, but the more you can feel them, the better you're gonna be able to do this. So I have a signal, and then I take a copy of the signal. Now, copy. Can you imagine that copies can be made inside Gear? Or, I mean, is this something that was a surprise to you? That you can make copies of signals inside equipment? Does it surprise you? Not really. Like, I mean, do you imagine that it's possible to do this? You can grab a cable, and then just like I have a signal, number one, and then I add, I mean, obviously we don't understand how, but because we're not electrical engineers. I'm talking about an analog device. Yeah, and me neither, to be honest with you. But I know it's possible. I mean, because I mean I can make electrical current. Let's say that electrical current looks like this, and I can make it look like this if I want to. I mean, if I have an original carrier signal, I can modulate the second signal with that one. Like I can do that. So I can have a copy of the signal, or basically I can do this. You know, you have an input jack or something like that. The way it kind of looks is kind of like this. You connect a cable of a guitar or whatever, and then that cable kind of like does like this. And then there is a second line here. So one is the original, and the other one is a copy. And the other one is a copy. And then you can do a whole bunch of stuff with the copy of the signal. You understand what I mean? I mean, so, and then if I have the copy of the signal, then I can like grab the original. I had it was like that, and then I can grab the copy, and I can put the copy here, and yeah, and I can just then decide what I'm gonna do with this. What if I move it a little bit back here? So if I move it a little bit back here, there is now an interference pattern. Wherever there is like reinforcements, like here there is a really nice cancellation, obviously, like, and in here there is a really nice reinforcement. So I end up with something that looks kind of like this, and so I can isolate reinforcement when waveforms are in the same yeah, like I mean when waveforms are in the same phase, that's exactly the way it means. So it's kind of like this. So when they're in the same phase, they sum each other. When they're in the opposite phase, they cancel each other. And because of the patterns of interference that I showed you a slide that was this one. Yeah, wait, I put it back here. Yeah, because of the patterns of interference, I get a new waveform that is different than the original. And so if I would be a mathematical genius or a waveform genius or something, I would be able to extract from this the component of 200 hertz, component 200 hertz, and then I can just sum this to the original, and then I boost it to 200 hertz. Ta-da! You made an equalizer. So I mean, let's kind of like I'm really gonna improvise here. I really not sure that I'm gonna be successful. So if you are gonna waste some like 7 minutes of your life right now, I'm really sorry. I'll make a Telegram post to compensate for that. I'll just make a post that makes you recover those 7 minutes of your life. But I don't know. I was thinking, what if I grab any audio file? Any audio file. Let me see here. Anything. Let's see. What is this? I switch this off. Yeah, this is a pretty simple tone. Like, what happens if I do this? Let me see how precise this is. And I take a copy of this, and I grab the operator, right? It's called in audio effects. What's the name? I forgot. Utility. Sorry, utility. So I put the operator, the utility here, and I flip the phase. Just a second. Great, I get no signal. It's super good. It's really out of phase, right? Like, I mean, I'm playing sound, but there is nothing happening. And if I go and make like a very, 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 very big zoom. So I have also isolated up. I mean, you see, like, the output of this is not the same. And you see, it disappears after. So all I did was just to reverse the phase and move it microscopically slightly, and obviously the result that I'm getting out of this is different than the original thing. And like we can see there, kind of like the interference patterns forming. The more I get away from the beginning, the more there will be a lag. And so you see, like here, you start seeing the lag already. That's exactly the principle I'm kind of describing to you. And then I end up in a point when the lag is sufficient enough, like for them to be a difference, and then there is kind of like less of a signal. So anyways, I just wanted to demonstrate that. If I put it back in phase, there you go. And if I return, yeah, that's how it sounds when they are summing each other. So great. These are interference patterns, and they are what allows EQs to exist. So great, congratulations. We know how an EQ works in basic principle, okay? So we wanted to talk about some types of filters today. And after all this party that was happening at the beginning of this lecture, I feel like, you know, like, okay, little ones, let's go. Let's get some. Huh? He's also nerd, so being nerd is cool. You have to know about. No, I mean, you all know all of this, but we're trying to run this course to be like the you know, the most formality we can do. So, okay, let's go straight in. We have low pass and high pass filters. So, what do they do? Let's just get you to help me here. What do low pass filters do? Can you draw one? Can you draw one there? Low pass, low pass. Let's see, can you draw one? Draw one? How does it look in Ableton? We can delete this, I think. Uh-huh. I see how you're drawing it. Low pass, let's the low go, you know. Or high cut, you know, it's the same. It's the same, it's the same. It's the same. Cool. Da. Usually what parameters what parameters can you change here? What things can you change there? Resonance. So the resonance would be like a little peak here, something like that. I mean, it would be the angle of this curve, and that makes a peak. And what else can you change in this thing? You can say the frequency, because you can move this guy like some filters have. Drive, like a distortion. Yeah, I mean, I guess that would be another thing, but in the most basic way, the other thing you can change is the angle of the slope. And you know what that angle means when you read that number? Do you know what it means? No. That's really important. That's really important. So, sorry, I hear some. Okay, sure. When you're working with a low pass or a high cut, I always confuse it till this day. Like, I'm very stupid with these things. When you're working with a low pass or a high cut, what happens is that you make a decrease. I mean, this is the rest of the audio spectrum, and you decrease the signals that are happening after, let's use the correct word, the cutoff frequency. That's why the synth says cutoff. You know, it's because you're deciding what's the cutoff frequency going to be. When you're moving the cutoff of a sequence of a frequency, when you move the cutoff in a synth, what are you deciding? What is it that you're changing? Прикол, крутая штука, звук, открытность. Да, но что ты меняешь? Там нету такой циркуит, который называется sharpener. Great. So when you're changing the cutoff, like when you see a synth and you see cutoff, when you move that knob, it's like 100 hertz, 200 hertz, 300 hertz, 400 hertz. You're changing the frequency. So if you read there, you see like high pass and low pass filter remove frequency above or below a defined cutoff frequency. Usually they only adjust they only adjust adjustable parameters is the cutoff frequency. Like usually, like in the most simple thing that you can buy in a shop and just like to EQ something in a venue or something, will only have the frequency. You will only be able to change the frequency. But sometimes you can change the slope. So the slope, when you see, let me tell you what that means. When you see a filter like this, and you can change usually the angle of this thing. So it can be like this, or it can be like this. Sorry for those of you online who cannot see, I guess, anything. I'm gonna switch on the lights. Sorry guys, I know it was romantic over here, but yeah. Oh my God, we're like vampires, all of us. Online guys, can you see something there? Nobody cares? Not really, not really. Okay, let me just make this cool for the online guys, and then I can switch the lights off again. Ah, that would be cool. Yeah, that would be cool. It's so depressing, exactly. No, I get some no here, and I get some yes there. No, I'm gonna do it in the computer, so the guys online can see it. Yeah. So then turn the lights off. So that's it. The vampires won. The vampires won the battle. Let's just do it right away in Ableton, really, because so the online guys can watch and we can feel it better. So okay, let's go. I have here. Let me just remove this, and grab something more, a little better sample here, so we can. Vocal demo.
Standing in the rain, feather down in my brain.
Great. Speaking of autotune, so no, I didn't autotune this at all. So okay, I'm gonna grab an EQ now, obviously, and we're gonna talk about those parameters quickly. So EQ8, I think EQ8 would be cool. All right, great, check it out. So I'm gonna create a low pass. You see, I already confused them, like because I'm a genius. So okay, there you go. So that's a low pass, and the things I can change here, for example, I can change the Q. You see, and when I change the Q, a resonance comes up. Resonance, resonance is that peak that is created when I change the Q. We're gonna talk about the Q in a minute. We're gonna talk about the Q very formally in a minute. You have what? Just this guy? Let's see it. Sorry. Got it. Yeah, auto filter. So this is just like a low pass, right? Now, yeah, it's just one of those guys, right? It's just one alone. So let me see a low pass. Wait, let me see a low pass. So you see, there's something that I don't like here about this EQ. Wait, let me see. Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. It has what I wanted. Do you have any idea what these numbers are? The amount of decibels of what? Like, of what? I mean, there is something else that is missing. There is something that is missing still. So I mean, to stop being annoying, I'll tell you. Like, this thing, what that number means is dBs. You're correct in that sense. Per octave. So the meaning of that, let me just drop here, put this, the meaning of that is like if I have it selected in 12, it's like let's say that I was moving in between 1000 hertz and like I mean my cutoff slope starts at 1000 hertz. So this reduction 12 dB per octave means that I started in 1000 hertz, and by the time I'm in 2000 hertz, the reduction was the 12 dB. But I started in 1000, but by the time I was in 3000, which is 3 octaves up, the reduction is already 24 dB. Make sense? Yeah? So it's amount of dBs per octave reduced. Like, and now when you see Fab Filter, if you see a photo of Fab Filter here, let me see, I don't have it installed here for some reason. Filter, high pass. If I go to Fab Filter and I see a photo of high pass, Fab Filter has it really cool. I guess that I'm gonna be able to see an image here, but it's not selected. Whatever. It gives you a lot of options, like 72. Maybe here I can see it. No, like you can choose the angle of the slope. The higher the number is like 96 dB per octave. It means that in between 1000 and 2000 there was a 96 decibel reduction. So I mean the thing is almost a brick wall. The thing is almost a vertical line. Do you understand what I'm saying? I see a face like of what the hell? Like
So 24 is like more powerful than 12.
of course, of course.
It's like
No, it's just like very aggressively cutting the frequency. So if I am using per octave, because that's how all EQs are work. They are using octave as their basic unit of measurement. So
octave like in piano.
no, because of octave, it's just like a doubling the frequency. So I mean, if I am standing in 100 hertz, the octave of 100 hertz is 200 hertz. The octave of 200 hertz is 400 hertz. The octave of 400 hertz is 800 hertz. And then I'm going to make the rest of the lecture. I'm just going to be duplicating these numbers for 1 hour and a half until I turn like the octave of 1,222,000 is 2,200. Yeah, I mean, like if I go here and I see frequencies, notes, piano, like, I mean, a piano is just a bunch of frequencies. So I mean, if you see like, okay, let's see A1, you know, A1 is 55 hertz, and A2 is 110, and A3 is 220, and A4 is 4. No, this is not like the equalizer scale. This is just when you play a piano, the string of the piano, and I'm really. No. No, maybe I'm not understanding your question. Before I carry on that, I want to talk about this kind of conversations that I'm having with Roma here. Everybody should be like this in the class, really. This is the best. Like, really. I love these conversations. Like, please, I really love them. Because everybody's kind of like acting as if they know everything. And I love to talk about this. Like, and I have talked about it for maybe 20 years. So okay, back to you, Bratan. So when I play a piano, what do you mean by frequencies?
You said that octave is
Da.
like doubling the frequency.
Yes.
Yes?
I mean, wait a second. My question to you is this. What is a la?
La,
Yeah. What is a la?
tone,
What is a la?
404.
440 hertz. So it's a string that is moving 440 times every second. So what is a la in the second octave?
The second octave, 80.
It's a string vibrating 880 times per second. So,
So if we took like equalizer,
yep.
this machine, this scale has like notes on the
No, that's what I want. That's what I mean. No, this doesn't have notes. It's just like, tell me a number. Tell me any number in the world right now. 70. Okay, what's the octave of 70? That's it. I mean, it's not connected to the musical notes. It's just like mathematically.
notes can be
Yeah, it happens that sometimes one of those values are musical notes.
you like take some kind of audio file
Da,
into the equalizer.
da.
It's analyzing it by notes.
No, that's what I don't understand. How did you reach that conclusion? No, it's just like there are a whole bunch of frequencies. It just happens. I mean, for example, right now.
Yeah, but notes is frequencies.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's reached by frequencies, by notes. Yeah?
No, not really. Yo, go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
So,
I mean, look, what I want you to understand is that musical notes and equalizers are not connected. They can be connected. It's possible to connect them. Some equalizers have a piano roll, and they're showing you like, hey, the low la, it's kind of falling around these notes. But that's it. The equalizers, and I mean, you can make an equalizer to equalize a telephone signal, you know, that has nothing to do with music.
yeah, but that's just to talk with our with instrument. Like if we take some instrument to the equalizer, it will show us like notes. What you play and what's like
Where do I see those notes?
in the frequency scale from 0 to 10,000 hertz.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, no, it's not a correct way to see it, really. like you're mixing two concepts that don't have to be mixed. Like, I mean, equalizers and piano and musical instruments can be connected, but they are not.
Which way they are correct to connect?
Well, I mean, if you what it can be useful is that if you look at this list of frequencies, and then you can know where some of the elements that you're playing. For example, let's use an example here on what you're saying. Like, let's say that I hear that precise voice that I have here. Like, so I'm gonna put a tuner here. I'm just gonna put a guitar tuner, literally, just to see if I can get the notes quickly. It will not tell me. Like, it's monophonic. Like, it should be able to tell me. Ah. Boo. Ah, there you go. There you go. There you go.
Standing in the rain,
So that's C sharp
standing in the rain, feather down in my brain.
and B flat. So okay. I mean, now let's go to this tabliza that we had here, and let's go C sharp, and let's see a C sharp here. I guess that would be like C sharp. This is something really important is going to come out from this conversation that is happening right now. I am guessing that that's kind of C sharp, like the fifth from 0 octave. So it would be 277.18 hertz, maybe even more. Maybe it would be higher. Maybe it would be 500. Let's see. Now let's get what's a signal generator in Ableton? It's called signal generator, like that. Oscillator. Operator? Huh? Yeah, in the operator, yeah. But in the operator, I can do it, right? Like, I can just get, like, here a synth. I can get a very simple operator. And I just want to hear... Can I choose the frequency here? Yeah. Great. So what was it? 200... Do you remember? 277? Sorry. 277. So, get out of here. And now I want to just play. There you go. That's a C sharp. And I'm just playing the C sharp forever. And then the other note. This is going to be important. What we're going to discuss now. And the other note was B flat, right? So the other note was B flat. If you see it here, tell me, because I'm very tired today. And here it is, right? 233. So now if I move this to 233, I'm gonna have B flat. Right. Right. Okay. And so I mean that's the fundamental. That doesn't mean that vocals that she sang only has 277 hertz. That's just the fundamental frequency. So what does a fundamental frequency means? Like the core. Yes. Yes. And you can see it like this. The fundamental frequency of something. It's let me put it first in metaphorical terms. Have you heard this before? Have you thought about this before? No. You all, have you thought about this before? The fundamental frequency of something. Have you thought about this before? Yeah. Who not? Who not? I see some no's here. Useful. Okay, great. So there is something kind of. Let me start on the metaphorical way. Okay, like if I get very drunk, you know. You would still be able to identify something of Leo in that person, even though I'm very drunk. It's kind of like, I guess I will be like, I love you guys, like, yeah, and I'll be super huggy and happy and stuff, and you will still see my core, you know, my fundamental self. So, you see, because Leo is like an abstraction that has a whole bunch of components, but there is something like what is fundamental to Leo. You know, what is fundamental to Leo? Well, who knows? Like, we can describe it and whatever. We can get to there. Loves to create Telegram channels, like point 1. Point 2, loves to create Telegram chats. So, and then, okay, there are fundamental elements of me. Now, in terms of a frequency, you know, when you see, if I would play, actually, let's see the spectrum quickly. If I would quickly play here, if I put a what's the name, a visualizer in this synth, this super simple synth that we are doing. Let me see. This was gonna be on the EQ, right? Audio effects. I'm gonna put an EQ here, and I'm just gonna look at this. So when you see, when I started playing, there was a whole bunch of other frequencies there. And then there is a peak, and then it stays like that. That's the attack, sustain, decay, and release of this signal. All of those things that are there are part of the frequency, you know. Now remember what I told you, like drunk Leo or something like that? Like let's make a drunk 233 hertz. So it would be something kind of like, I don't know. That's, well, that would be, yeah, that would be it. Like, actually, no, let's, you see, what is, I like in this example, what does it means to get drunk? Like, drunk wiki. Let me just go to, is there a, like a wiki page? Alcohol intoxication. So alcohol intoxication, let me see if there is like a perception. If I change perception here, well, I mean, I was looking for something kind of like a distortion of perception, you know. Yeah, but what happens is that, no, what I wanted to say is that what happens when you get drunk is that you have your core self and then you add something else to it. So if I add a distortion here, or like a vibrato, let's try it with the distortion because it would be really easy to demonstrate, and then I will try to the vibrato just because I like what you said. I'm gonna add a distortion here, so if I add another overdrive, and then I start changing this, I'll make it, sorry guys. You're right, thanks. Thanks. So now what happens is that I'm adding new harmonics to this. So, sorry online guys, I guess that you're not hearing from the computer, actually. Let me change it so so now you can hear from the computer, and then it would be very painful. Guys, really be careful. be careful, guys, really, online there. I don't know, turn it down or something, because I'm going to turn it down here. Yeah, it's a way to wake you up. Wait, let me just turn it down here. Oh, shit, sorry. Okay, great. So let's go back here. So when I'm creating distortion, I'm just adding I'm adding harmonics, and you see, and those harmonics are mathematically related to a fundamental frequency. So the fundamental, if I hit a piano, boom, and I make it vibrate, you know, the piano will have a central vibrating pattern that is going to be its fundamental frequency. Like, and so in audio engineering, in sound, every time that you're referring to the fundamental, you're going to be referring to a frequency that it's really at the center of everything. It's the base of that sound. Now, yes, correct. Yeah, exactly. If we would only hear a sine tone, if there would be no harmonics. So this is what is called harmonics, and get used to that word, because you're gonna hear me something when we're in the studio. You're gonna hear me saying something kind of like, let's reveal some harmonics from that snare. So let's reveal some harmonics from that snare. So what do I mean by that? For example, if I open here a snare, any snare sample, you know, let me just load here I'm very tired today, guys. I've been sleeping like 4 hours a day for I don't know how long. Like, yeah. It's really bad. I mean, I'm a little bit in an emergency situation. I need to sleep. Yeah. So if I put any snare here, I just want the snare. Man, I'm so stupid. Let me just load here any drum machine. Drum. I'm just gonna put a snare. Just anyone. And let's see it through the. About. See it through the EQ. Again, audio effects, EQ8, and let's go. So I mean, look at how much frequencies are there. I mean, the whole. This is a super. Yo, guys, your party back there is really bothering me. Go out, really. Like, what is the point of staying here? To be honest, like, it makes no sense. It's like you bother everybody, and you're anyways not paying attention to the lecture. It's okay to go out. It really doesn't makes a problem. I don't mean to be an asshole, you know it. It's just like I get distracted. Imagine that you're giving a lecture and you hear like pss, 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 pss. It's really hard. So anyways, or that you have a machine truck on the back there. So anyways, if I put again an overdrive here, and I just put it here, like let's see what our harmonics can be revealed from this. Sorry guys. You see, look at a good question. He says, when I say revealing harmonics that I was not hearing before, what do I mean? Look at this. Look at the visualizer. So I'm changing the spectral balance of that signal, and so I'm making it sound differently, basically. So I'm.
Sounds more like you make it louder, no?
No. I changed the timbre of it. That's precisely the point. I changed the timbre of it. Let me change the tone here 1 second. Like that's another snare. And now I'm hiding some harmonics that were there. Now I'm revealing them. Sorry, guys. And actually, some overdrives, some distortion pedals, like harmonics. I don't know if I'm gonna get there quickly. Like some overdrives, they show you instead of frequency, they tell you which harmonic are you boosting, like third, fifth, seventh, from the fundamental frequency. I'm not gonna find it right now, but that case exists, and I remember that there is an Ableton one that is like that. I just will not get there right now. So why am I saying all of this? Because we were talking about high pass and low passes, and we were discussing that there is a cutoff frequency. I kind of like don't remember why I went to talk about fundamental frequencies. Yeah. Thank you. You made me. Thanks to your comment, I was able to remember. No, I was just saying that when you're equalizing something, I mean, even though we heard this thing and we heard that it's kind of like we determine the frequency, that doesn't mean that this audio content contains only that frequency, because like Alexandra said, super great. If things would not have harmonics and other components, we will just be hearing only clear tones everywhere, and then life will be like that. Okay, so if I grab, let's go back to destroy everything I had done before, and let's go back here. So now we learned today one thing. We learned today that, and I'm gonna put it in the presentation. Actually, no, it's discussed later. We learned today that you can change. I mean, that this slope tells you how many decibels per octave gets reduced. So let's move a bit. Great. So that's the case of low pass and high pass, and so. In the case of the high-pass filter, it just cuts low frequencies, and the slope is calculated in dBs. You see how many dBs will be reduced per octave? That, correct. And per octave means it's a really arbitrary thing. It's like you need to get out of the music concept. Octave is not a musical concept. It's just like for example, I guess that, I mean, like, Sirius is my octave, it's like a double of me. And then Lynx is my second octave. It's a copy. Like copy, but in a higher level, Yeah. So, okay, in the low-pass filters, the same. The slope is calculated in octave. That's really clear. There is nothing special to say. And then there is a type of filter that is called a band pass. So what do you think is happening there? We have a low pass and a high pass together. And then we have a band pass, and that's really useful. And by the way, the word bands, they're not only like people playing instruments, like you're gonna hear this thing a lot. When I hear bands, like, do you know what I'm talking about? You don't know? I'm gonna see around. Do you see what I'm talking? Do you know what I'm talking about? Okay. You need to transport yourself to moments when to like a bit of a more ancient time in which gear was only hardware. There were no plugins. And so, I mean, for us, it's kind of like, and that's one of the beauties of me teaching this course. I have realized by dealing with you, I have realized how isolated you are from hardware, because that's the trend, like, I mean, you cannot even change the battery of your phone. It's like, you're super isolated from hardware. And it's not an accusation. I'm not telling you that that's bad. It's just how it is. But when you build an equalizer and you don't use computer code, you are limited by physical things and by actually what are you going to put in there. So, I mean, when you build an equalizer, you have a component that treats the low end. You have a component that treats the mid-range. You have a component that treats the high frequencies. And these places here, you're going to have to get used to that frequency, that word as well. They're called crossovers. Crossovers. I'm gonna tell you right away. There will be a quiz next week. I said it, and there will be a question. What is a crossover frequency? I'm telling you one of the questions. So if you pay attention, I mean, it's really simple. What is a crossover frequency? It's a frequency inside a piece of hardware that determines a separation between regions of the hardware. So, I mean, there is a low end chip, let's call it like chip. And so until what frequency the low end frequency is going to work? Until the cutoff frequency. Until the crossover frequency, excuse me. Then there is a mid range, until what frequency the mid range is going to run, until another crossover frequency. I mean, this is very stupid. This is a frequency that you use to split the signal in parts. So no. What I'm trying to tell you is that, like, this region is called a band. No, mid, like, and high. No, I mean, like when you see an EQ, imagine that this is an EQ and this is the circuitry of the EQ, and then you as an user, you have 3 knobs. Like the knob is low, mid, and high. So this equalizer has 3 bands. Band number 1 is the low end, band number 2 is the mid range, and those bands have a crossover frequency. So where those bands starts and end, like when you see the EQ of Ableton Live, this EQ has 8 bands. And actually, like, you can see, like, if I go here to audio effect, if I go like EQ3, like EQ3 has 3 bands only. So gain low, gain mid, gain high, like, and that's all. Letting a band pass. Letting a band pass. You see? Like one range of frequencies are allowed to go. Letting a band pass. And I mean, I know that we all want to think that it's a band, and it's like, yeah, you can pass to the backstage or something. Well, it's a really bad joke. I'm sorry for that, but it was just obvious. But like, sorry, that's like minus points. But anyways, like, I mean, when you have a band pass filter, you're just letting, this is a band, and it's passing. It's just like, I mean, this terminology, it's important so people can talk to each other. You all know this intuitively. You know that this is what a band pass does. But I mean, it's when you're working with people across the other side of the planet, and maybe you're working with an engineer that is in Holland and you are here, and it's like, you can tell him an instruction, which is like, please apply a bandpass filter with a Q4 in between 100 and 200 hertz. And that's more precise than saying, can you make it more bright? And that's important, for us. So a bandpass filter is simply a filter that, I mean, in this case, in the context of what you're seeing, it's a filter that combines a low pass and a high pass filter together. Sorry, I kind of got it wrong there, but you got my point. So let's move on. Combination of a high pass and a low filter in one component. So it also has its cutoff frequency. So the cutoff frequency will be here. And the cutoff frequency is where the slope begins. Do you know what I mean by slope? Like this is something that, like, actually, I'm going to kind of, today I have introduced, because I don't have them in my presentation, and I think I have introduced a couple of important concepts. I'm going to make a list here, so we maybe photograph them and read them later. So what those, I have said something like band in the context of EQs. I have said something like crossover frequency in the context of EQ. Crossover frequency in the context of EQ. And I have said something now which is slope. Like slope is, I mean, what we were discussing before, which was like how fast the curve of the EQ goes down and how much it reduces decibels per octave. That's the slope. But the word slope in sound engineer has a lot of context. One of those contexts is EQ. And one of those contexts is compression, for example. Because the slope, I'm kind of going to remain it right now, focus on our EQ. It's kind of like how fast an EQ cuts something. How fast, I mean like how many decibels per octave, like we were saying before. But in the context of compression, it's kind of like how fast the attack of a compressor is. That's the slope of the attack of the compressor. It's just like the signal entered into the threshold, and then I'm going to very fast reduce its gain. So I have a slope of X amount. And all compressors have different slopes. That's why they're different. That's why a Neve compressor is different and an SSL compressor is different than a compressor made by your grandma, whatever. They're all different. Wow, your grandma makes compressors. That's so cool. So anyways, let's move on a bit. And we said cut of frequency. I put it there. I didn't put it there. Let's write it down here because we should use those terminology. Cut of frequency. These are some. Sure. Imagine that. Imagine that. Again, imagine that your grandma is gonna make an EQ, and so your grandma is going to have to. Your grandma wants to make a analog equalizer. She doesn't know how to code. She is an electrical engineer. Nice, cool grandma you have. And so, I mean, in order to make an EQ, she's gonna have to go into the shop and buy some components. She cannot just like make an EQ that can affect all the frequencies in the world, because for this she needs specific types of materials. Like I told you that EQs make a copy of the signal, and then that EQs isolate a part of the signal, and then that you can use that part of the signal to feed back to each other. Yeah, but I'm telling you, like, this is sort of like the theoretical way of how an EQ works, but how do you actually make that happen? You know, you need to go to the shop and buy certain particular parts of gear. So what I mean by what I'm saying right now is like your grandma, if she's going to build an EQ, she has limitations. She cannot, in the sense that she cannot just filter all the frequencies. There is not something that you can go to Leroy Merlin and buy like a thing there that it's just like a thing that filters all the frequencies in the world. What you're going to end up buying, if Leroy Merlin will set like EQ kits, you know, what Leroy Merlin will sell you is something kind of like, okay, look, here is a box that contains a whole bunch of little apparatus, little devices. Here is a filter for the low end. That filter starts on 20 hertz and it ends on 150 hertz. If you want to filter more frequencies, you gotta buy another device. And that device is gonna start from 150 hertz until 3000 hertz. The band is how many, what's the range of frequencies that a piece of gear can manipulate. The crossover frequency is the frequency in between bands.
So they're like independently regulated, or
They are dependent on the equipment that you bought.
so you can regulate the solver by bands, or is just
It depends on the gear. It depends on the gear. Like,
example, I don't know, I don't have any hardware, but if we talk about Ableton equalizer,
yeah, let's go. Let's go. So I mean, let's see. Okay, let's say something here. I just got this, I got it off, and that's why it's not working, and I need to bring this here and change it. So, okay. Like, this is band number 1. Actually, it's exactly how it's called. What you're saying there, next time you're going to talk about an EQ, you should refer to bands. Like, this is band number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is band number 1. And so band number 1 right now is configured to be a low, high-pass filter. And now it has a Q of 0.75. We're going to see that in a second. We're going to see the formula to calculate the Q. It has a Q of 0.75. And its crossover, its cutoff frequency is 31 hertz. 31.0 hertz. Yeah, 31. So in this case, I don't have like a end and beginning to this band, really. Because this thing can be moved anywhere I want, because it's a digital EQ and I have infinite freedom there. But in the hardware, it's kind of like, look at this guy here. It's like gain low, gain mid, gain high. But where does I cannot choose any frequencies there. I just have them pre-made there for me. So
Standing in
so
the
if I see
rain,
this
feather
thing,
down
wait,
in my brain. I was standing in the rain, feather down. Standing in the rain, feather down.
in the studio,
It's-
you are really like sitting, listening, and also
sure,
twisting some buttons.
of course.
It's so unusual.
You're not used to it.
I never walked.
I mean, the way you know in the movies, you know in the like in the movies, I don't know. I go back to the Matrix because I know this movie so well. It's like I feel like a person who has been in the real world, and that you're all like inside, and now you're like, there is the, and I'm like, yeah, guys, I promise you, I will show you one day. Yeah, I'll take you there and show you one day, like the sky, how it looks and stuff. So look, let's actually see this with a more visual example. In here, I have a universal audio. I have a universal audio plugin. It's going to be here in plugins, universal audio, and let's see like a Neve Let me see a Neve. Let me see the 1081. I think it's one of my favorite EQs. Yeah, I'm talking about analog devices. Sure. Let me see if the 1073 is installed here. It would be more visual. I don't know if we have it here. Yeah, great. So you see, look, this EQ has how many bands are there? Let's see if you can figure it out. 4. Yeah, there are 4. You're right. You were right. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the red one is gain. It's a preamp because this is a preamp. And if you have never seen, and I guess you haven't, but I have mentioned it to some of you. If you have never seen the Universal Audio Neve 1073 advert, like if you have never seen the advert, it's absolutely hilarious. It's really great. I mean, I guess I'll put it somewhere there for you to watch it, because I mean, the guys made a 4-minute movie like about guys in the 70s. And then they made it all super well adapted, like to be in the 70s, and it's some like famous producer from the 70s, and it's a whole story. It's really funny. It's like a little micro movie about this plugin, you know. And you see, like, look at his computer and stuff. Like, it's.
Let's hear from some of my very close friends who also make monster hit records. Thanks. Man, I've been using the Neve since it came out in 1970.
So, yeah, so they did a really cool advert when this plugin came out, and I remember because I bought it and when it came out. I was like, fuck, this advert is amazing. So this EQ has 1 band, 2 band, 3 band, 4 bands. But you see, because we are limited by the world of hardware, you know, this band has a certain range of frequencies. So it's like from whatever, I guess it's like 200 hertz all the way to 8,000 hertz. Like this is band 3. Band 1 is just a high pass. That's all it is. If your grandma would have built this, if your grandma would be Rupert Neve, or your grandpa would be Rupert Neve, he would have bought a component that is a high pass. He would have bought a component which is a band pass filter, because in reality these guys are band pass filters just hooked up in a different way, and a shelf EQ. Like, let's continue with the explanation. Analog, look, in DTH you will do it. Like there are a lot of EQs there. Ah, yeah. Well, actually, in this lecture you will see it a bit later. Like you see, like there is a moment about it. Maybe I should have started with that, but anyways. So let's move on a bit. So these are the type of filters. Combination of high pass filter, low filter, great. So and then there is something called a graphic equalizer. So a graphic equalizer. What do you think is a graphic equalizer? No, I was always thinking the same, and that's not a graphic equalizer. That's another thing. Like the graphic equalizer are these guys, like the guys that are like this. You know, and you see, like, if you don't believe me, like, it says they're graphic equalizer. So, I mean, I really didn't invent this. And you see, now look at this, dual 15 band EQ. So this thing has 15 bands. Like, it has 15, and those bands are, like, you see, from 16 to 10K to 6K to 4K. Like when you move this, you're not modifying only 4K. You're modifying like a little region, you know, and that little region is a band. And what number of band it is? If this thing breaks down and you're the engineer who needs to fix it, you need to be like, oh, which band is broken? And then you will find like, look, like band number 7 was broken. Which is band number 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, this one, whatever, I don't know. So the graphic well, because no, but that looks like a little. Yeah, but these things were developed like in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. So I mean, the equalizer that you are used to is very new. So people back then were like, it looks like a graphic, and then somebody was like, hold my beer, man. Like, let me show you how a graphic really looks like. So graphic equalizers, they allow you to control or like a certain amount of frequencies, obviously. Now check this out. The frequencies available for manipulation are typically based on the International Standard Organization, ISO. There is a whole bunch of people who get together in Geneva or something. All these meetings always happen in Switzerland for some reason. I don't know why. It's like all this, and they determine like if you're gonna make a graphic equalizer, you need to use 31.5, 63 hertz, 125, 250. No, yeah, it's. I mean, there are reasons for those standards, and they exist, you know. And actually, well, we'll see later the photo that I showed. And no, of course, some people broke those rules already, and they just have their own type. But man, no, because like for example, I really don't know which case it can be now. The question is why they know they need those rules. I really cannot think about a case right now like that. But well, haven't you heard the song like? Last night a DJ saved my life. You know what I mean? Do you know the song? It's very famous. Last night a DJ saved my life. Maybe some EQs can be a matter of life and death. I mean, no, I'm joking. I don't know. I really don't know why. I'm just trying to tell you that maybe some of those standards are connected with electrical engineering, and maybe that can be something that is like life-saving in some occasion, you know. Or also you want to be able to have, you know why also this standard could exist. Sorry, the example I just gave is terrible and makes no sense, and it's very stupid. Now let me tell you a more logical example. It's because we are not engineers, and all what we want to do is to, I don't know, go to a party and play music. We don't care about this like kind of like standardization of things. But again, maybe you want to be able to send instructions to an engineer in Japan, which is like raise band number 7 by 2 decibels. And then if everybody in the world, band number 7 means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 2000 hertz, then you can send those instructions. And also, that's not only it. Now I'm starting to understand actually the reason for that standard. There is another reason, because the fact that there are some fixed bands, and the fact that they have some fixed frequencies, it means that band number 7, it's not just 2000 hertz. It's like a range in between 2000 hertz and 4000 hertz. So when an engineer in Japan is turning down -2 decibels in band number 7, he's turning down in between 2000 hertz and 4000 hertz. So you want to be able to standardize this. You will see when we study stereo recording techniques in the studio with me. I'm going to tell you something. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but haven't you noticed that when you hear a TV series, like think about a TV sitcom, you know, that repeats all the time, it always sounds the same. It doesn't change. It's not like episode number 1 sounds different than episode number 2. It's like, because there are description in the manuals, you know, which is like, okay, the microphone technique is an ORTF positioned at X amount of meters from the blah, blah, blah. I mean, all these things are standardized like that. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, okay. It's also possible for a graphic equalizer to have more bands, obviously. And now, you see, like all the conversations that we're having matters now, you see, with increased frequency resolution, such as 1/3 of an octave, 1/12 of an octave. Yeah, we don't talk about musical octaves when we're thinking about here. It's just like a whole bunch of frequencies. So
You can like copy the sound and double it in one part 3 or 1 part 12.
no, what this means is like let's say, imagine like if an octave, is double, it's 2x, right? You agree? Like if I am in the frequency 100 and the octave is 200, so the formula for the octaves is the formula of the octave is. Let's say this is the frequency Y, and like, okay, fine. I'm not gonna get you there. It's very simple.
When you mean 1 at the 3,
Yeah, it's like 1/3.
like part of.
Yeah, part of an octave, correct. It's kind of like, imagine that you're going in between do and re, but you kind of like stay a little bit in between.
So you can like microcontrol.
Yes, and that's what I mean, because this thing, the frequency resolution, you see, look at this, the frequency resolution of this thing is 1 octave. I mean that every band has an octave in between it. Now, there can be another EQ, which is like, from this one to the next one is 1/3 of an octave only, or a 12th, you know. So then it's really more precise. And then the bandwidth or Q of each boost is predetermined by the designer and cannot be changed by the user. Like in a graphic EQ, like the user cannot choose the Q, like how wide those bands are. And look, you have an answer here of why it's called a graphic equalizer. It gets its name from the fact that vertical slider from the shape of the equalization curve from low frequencies to the left, frequencies on the right, they form kind of like like some sort of pattern. So okay, these are the cases. This is one case. And then what you call graphic equalizer a minute ago, that's really called parametric equalizer. Yeah, because it has a lot of parameters. And actually, wait, I made a mistake here. This thing should be animated. So no. That's it. Close. Then I can go like this. So what? Yeah, that's a parametric equalizer. And there is a person called George Massenburg. He's super important, and actually, he makes incredible EQs. He's still alive. And he was the one who started using this this terminology of like parametric equalizer, because it gives you the capacity to change the Q, to change the frequency, center frequency, and it just gives you a lot of freedom. So now, finally, we reached to the formula of the Q. I asked you in the previous lecture if you knew how to calculate the Q, and everybody told me no, we don't know. And so the Q of something is a simple formula that is center frequency, the frequency in the center, divided by the bandwidth. So now the question is, what the hell is the bandwidth? Do you know what is the bandwidth? What the hell is the Q? So, okay. Wait, we have another concept here. Bandwidth. I'm telling you, all of these questions will be in the quiz. So, I mean, if you want to pass the quiz, just take a photo of this and memorize it, you know, something like that. So then you have bandwidth and you have Q. And in the quiz, I will also ask you to calculate some mathematical Q. So you will have to make a little mathematical calculation. Like, it's really simple. So take a photo or whatever, take it later, but okay. So what is the Q? The Q, we want to have a number that gives me an idea of how wide the EQ is. No, how wide the EQ is. How many frequencies are getting affected by the EQ? So if you open your Ableton Live equalizer here, you will see here, if I grab here, like Q, you see? Now that value there, let's try to calculate it ourselves. So let me see. Chuck. And I grab this guy here. Let me use like a bell EQ. So look at this. I have the formula of Q is the center frequency divided by the bandwidth. So the question is, do you know what the bandwidth is? No? Nobody? Well, divided. Раздел. So I was telling you, you're getting closer there. I mean, it's like bandwidth contains the word band. And I heard what the word band means a couple of minutes ago, and you were right. You're getting there. So I was telling you, dude, this thing is driving me crazy. Let me mute the mic because it's really awkward. So I was telling you, all right, I have the low band, the mid band, and the high band. So let's say the low band starts on 20 hertz, because remember, we're in the analog world. So we're thinking about components. So I bought a component, and that component can only manipulate electricity around 20 hertz and let's say 200 hertz. So how many frequencies are in between 20 and 200? 180. That's the bandwidth of this band. It's the bandwidth of this band. So now I have one of the elements. I said that Q is central frequency divided by bandwidth. So in this case, I already have one of the parameters that I want to calculate. So it's like 180 is my bandwidth. Awesome. 180. Now, what's my central frequency? I opened the manual of this EQ that the babushka of Roma made, and the manual said that the central frequency of this was, let's say, 500 hertz. No, it cannot be 500 hertz because I'm talking about the first band. Sorry. The central frequency of this part of the EQ was, let's say, 120. So in order for me to calculate the Q, I'm going to have to do 120 divided by 180. So what's that number? Can somebody calculate it with your phone or something quickly? It's like 12 divided by 18. Huh? 2/3. So it's what? It's 2/3, which is 0.6, right? Something like that. I'm really terrible with quick calculations. Yeah, but then is that 0.6 or? Yeah, it's 0.6. So the Q is 0.6. And so, but why can this be used? And you see, like, that's the same Q that you're seeing here. Like, I mean, like, and the Q, and also reversely, you know, you can calculate this reversely. I'll get your question in a second, Bertan. Just give me a second. In this case, I know the Q. Let's say that I want to know, like, man, where is this EQ really ending? Like, I don't understand this virtual graphic interface, which is true. I mean, what the hell is this frequency? Like, I have no idea. What the hell is this frequency? I want to know the bandwidth of this. So, okay, I know the central frequency in this case, which is 1000 hertz in that case that I'm showing you here, 1000 hertz. Great. So it's like I know the Q. What's the Q there? It tells me 0.71, right? So 0.71 equals, I know the central frequency, which is 1000, but I don't know the bandwidth. So I need to clear bandwidth. I hope that you remember absolute mega hyper basic math. And if I'm going to clear the bandwidth from here, it would be like bandwidth equals the central frequency over the Q. I mean, I just clear this. So what do I get? I get 1000 over 0.71. Can somebody make this calculation, please? 1000 over 0.71. What's the number? It's a big number? No, it's 1408.45. 1408 and 8.45. For those of you who are online, now give me some second of attention because this is important in order to understand what the hell happens there. You know, for those of you who are online, if there is anybody online, is there anybody online? Yeah, I see. Hello, guys. So for those of you who are online, we were looking at this. Oh, I have a case in which I have the Q, which was 0.71, and I know the central frequency, which is 1000, but I don't know the bandwidth. And I'm just really interested in figuring out where does this frequencies in Ableton end for some reason. I mean, maybe my life depends on that, whatever. Like, I don't know. Like, I want to know that information. Maybe I'm just curious. So how do I do that? Well, I mean, I can, if I remember basic math, if I have FC over BW, I mean, like central frequency over bandwidth, I can also say that the bandwidth is the central frequency over Q. So if I go to do you understand why, right? I mean, I don't need to explain. That's basic math. Like, if I go back here and I'm like, okay, I have 0.71 and I was in 1000 hertz here. So I have that the Q is 0.71, and I know that the central frequency is 1000. Now the bandwidth will be 1000 over 0.71, and we said that, can you repeat that number? Do you remember? 1408.45, right? Let me see something here 1 second, because something is iffy for me here. Calculator. Sorry, I'm gonna make this 1000 divided by 0.71. 71. Yeah, 148.45. Okay. And there's just, yeah, I guess that, yeah, it's correct. So you see, like, because these graphic equalizers are really weird. Yeah, like, yeah, but then, yeah, this is the total bandwidth of this process. So it's like 1408.45 is gonna be from here. Look, let's see this. Let's kind of see from 90. This is what I'm showing you here is kind of like I'm checking the work we did from 90 something to 6K. Fuck. I have something wrong in my thinking, or there is something different with this Q. You know, that's really weird. Because I should really be able to calculate. I mean, this thing should give me just the total wideness of this, and I'm not getting that. I'm doing a mistake here, and I'm really ashamed of that. But it's how it is. I don't know what could be the problem that I'm doing. Because I mean, I've done this in the past, and maybe that Ableton center frequency is 5. FC is the center frequency, and is defined as the frequency 2 minus the frequency 1. The frequency response for parameter equalizer was cut 6 dBs. I'm sorry that I got confused for a second. Please don't. Yeah. The frequency response. Wait. The frequency response of parameter equalizer would have 14. Let me see something. Q factor calculation. EQ. So let's see if this guy can help us a bit. So this is the bandwidth, the Q factor. No, wait. Bandwidth. Ah, yeah. Yeah. F2 minus F1. Yeah, bandwidth I think it's like this, but I don't understand this equalizer then. Yeah, I made a mistake, guys. Like this FC is like is the frequency range of the band where you are. It's kind of like frequency 2 minus frequency 1. So the frequency 2 is when where it all begins. Here. Wait. Like from here, from 90 to 6,000, something like that. Correct. I will get this math right for me, and the next lecture we will see alone this moment. Next lecture will be a practice and a recap, so I get it right and I don't confuse anybody. It says here like the FC is the center frequency bandwidth is defined as F2 minus F1. Yeah, but next lecture on Wednesday. It's a border, yeah. On Wednesday, I'll get us this like calculation of the Q frequency really great, so there's no questions, and I just want to move on a bit. So this is a George Masse work. I mean, I'm not going to talk about him now. I just wanted you to let him. I mean, this is a conversation with him like 3 weeks ago or something. Like he's still alive and he's still around there, and. That in the parametric equalizer you cannot change the Q. And you cannot change. No, the Q is fixed. The Q factor is fixed. Yeah, in parametric. And also the other difference is that you have predetermined central frequencies. You cannot move anything. Like a graphic equalizer has a set of predetermined frequencies and Qs for you to just regulate the volume. You can choose the Q. You can make it wider, narrower. You can. I mean, a graphic equalizer gives you a lot of freedom. Parametric, you see? Like I was making the same mistake myself. Yeah. Look, like, I mean, can I change the Q here?
You can change
Only the volume of the band.
You cannot change in the graphic equalizer the Q.
No.
But in parametric
You can. Look, like, the parametric equalizer allows completely independent and sweep tunable control of 3 parameters per band. Center frequency, Q, and the amount of boost or cut to that frequency. The Q is inversely related to the bandwidth. He didn't create it, like he just like, yeah, exactly. And it was I mean, this equalizer, by the way, is amazing. And actually this EQ that you see here, it's the digital EQ. the majority of pro engineers, they have spent some really good money to use this equalizer in particular. Like, and I'm really desperate to get it, but it's like $2,000 or something. This one, the analog. I mean, this is made by Masterwork Labs, and I mean, he's still around. And so anyways, then obviously there is a bell filter, which has a Q file factor. I mean, there is nothing, we are really used to them. We use them a lot. And then we have shelves. I mean, obviously shelf equalizers, which are just like, let's see what we got here. Sometimes it's confused with a low pass and a high pass, but it's not the same. Like low pass and high pass can only remove a range of frequencies. Shelving EQs have a very particular thing, which is that you see like a low pass or a high pass has a slope, and this slope progresses over time, like or over frequencies. You see, like the more far away I'm from the cutoff frequencies, the more I reduce. Now a slope offers a really interesting, unique feature, which is like you boost something and then it stays the same level of boost after a certain frequency, which is the cutoff frequency, by the way. A shelf is literally an EQ that offers constant boost or decrease after a certain frequency. Yeah, it makes, I mean, it doesn't make it constant because let's say that the frequencies that are here are like this. So, I mean, obviously this will be boosted more than this, but each frequency will be boosted by, let's say, 3 dB. Whereas if I am in a shelf, if I am in a slope, sorry, it's going to be like this frequency is decreased by 3 dB, but this frequency is decreased by 6, but this frequency is decreased by 8, but this frequency is decreased by 1,000,000. So, but this one in change is like all frequencies will be boosted 3 decibels. Da. Yeah, yeah. A whole range of frequencies up and down. The interesting mathematical point to notice there is that in a slope, like, you know, remember down here you have the domain of frequencies. So it's like, I mean, this is 200 hertz, this is 250, this is 300. So 300 hertz is experiencing more decrease than the first frequency that you had here. It's progressive. But in here it's fixed. It's like kind of like, it doesn't matter what frequency you are, you all get a 3 dB boost. But you understand this. Like, you understand this. Like, you know what we're talking about. Like, so it's all really clear. So that's about shelf EQs. This we will do it on Wednesday. I wanted us to download some files. We're gonna do it on Wednesday because this lecture went a bit different than what I wanted, but I really like it. I love this lecture actually. I'm really sorry of what happened of the queue. I'll get my stuff reviewed, and on Wednesday I'll do it with you again. Like, we will start with that. Now, I wanted to do this exercise. What did you want to say? Huh? Yeah? Yeah. So we have, you see, like, these are the frequencies of that international standards, and I just wanted you to isolate those frequencies and make an MP3 with that. Like, it's like, I want an MP3 of this file, but only 31.5 hertz. And then you see 14 audio files in total. And then we will do this in class because I think we have had enough of like theoretical lectures. We need a lecture. Like, we will do next Wednesday. We will look at them, recap on these concepts, look at those frequencies, sorry, those mathematical formulas. And then I would like you to export, you will have to export 14 audio files. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I want to show you how before we go to study what is the low end, what is the mid range, what is the high range, I want to show you, and please don't research it, just come with a blank mind, you know. Just sit down here and tell me, what do you think is the low end? What do you think is the mid range? And you will see that it will be different for all of you. And we will hear it. And then we'll see, like, holy shit, like, we really need to have some sort of like standard terminology so we can focus. Now, before we go, look, like, when you're going to build an equalizer, you're going to need some components, like some specific components, like for building an equalizer, like how those components and what are they. You're going to study this with Ilya, and you're going to study this with Alexander Senko next year. And I mean, you're going to be making like a virtual, you're going to make a virtual circuitry. I mean, you're going to grab like a digital board and like, I mean, not physically with your hands, but you're going to make it in the computer. Like, I mean, I'm going to put a resistor of 100 hertz, and then I'm going to stop the flow of electricity, blah, blah, blah. You will do this. This is going to happen in the year 3 of your course, so next year. I mean, for you guys, that's why you're seeing this course, Alexandra, like that's why you're seeing this course, and that's why you will see this next year, because the engineers, they saw this. You see what I mean? And this was so funny. When we built the bachelor's, nobody in the school thought about this. I was like, guys, I mean, you know, the engineers seen this, and they were until like the week before the beginning of the course, like, what do you mean, Leo? And I was like, this is important. Pay the fucking attention, please. And then like a week before, it was like, fuck, you were right all the time. I was like, yeah, I was. I said it like in June or something. I was like, guys, this is important, and whatever. Shit happens. So anyways, like, you see, look at this. A resistor R1, for example, it filters 3.2 kilohertz. A resistor R2, it filters 1.5 kilohertz. Remember what you said about the gamma rays? Yeah, and the radiation, you know, like these are special little pieces of metal, I'm being very simplistic, that if you run electricity through it, they stop 1 kilohertz. And so that's kind of how, I mean, and capacitors, resistors, they resist the passage of frequencies. The capacitors hold. So you can make a delay of the signal, you see? Because they hold the signal. And then they let it go whenever you want. How long they hold it? Well, it depends on the materials and how it's built. So you want to make a thing that is out of phase. Well, you need a capacitor that holds the signal for X amount of time, so the signal A and B are out of phase. So when you're going to build an EQ, you need to buy all this bunch of things. You know, and by the way, I'm about to show you one of the best memes ever, so get ready. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. I can feel the excitement. I mean, I'm describing to you here on a very basic level, like what is a resistor? It's a passive two-terminal electrical component. Two-terminal means input and output. That implements electrical resistance as a circuit element. I mean, it stops electricity from going from it, or a certain part of the spectrum of electricity that's going through it. Resistors are used to reduce the current flow, adjust signal levels, divide voltages. I mean, these are things that happen. It's just a part of nature, you know. Bias active element and terminate transmission lines, blah, blah, blah. Potentiometers, it's like a resistor, a potentiometer like in your guitar, you know. It's a kind of like a progressive resistor. So it's like, I mean, the more I activate it, the more it stops electricity from flowing. And a capacitor stores electrical energy in an electrical field for a while. A condenser microphone, it's also called a capacitor microphone. Like it's the same principle as condensers. This you will really. This is an electrical diagram of an EQ. Like, and I mean, I don't understand it. I will not claim to understand this. I'm not telling you that I know what's happening there. You will know better than me what's happening there. But actually, I think that now is when that meme comes. Yeah. So I don't know if you have seen those Indian tutorials, those Indian tutorials on YouTube. Like, I mean, about anything. So, so it's kind of like the entire world depends on those Indian tutorials. And I put you here, and let's just watch it quickly. This is really like a process of building.
How can you make your own 5-bar graphic equalizer based on an old IC, which you cannot come back to the channel. In today's video, I will show you how can you make your own 5-bar graphic equalizer based on an old
Equalizer.
which was designed to be used in a portable stereo tape recorder and a radio cassette. The tape which you will make is very simple and very beginner-friendly too. So I recommend to give it a try. Now the start of the building process. Starting of course with the schematic, which is now on prototype.
And the music is the best. The music is the best.
For a demonstration of the circuit and operation at the end of the video. The circuit which will be made will be based on L06, which according to the data sheet is a 5-band graphic equalizer, which can be extended up to particular band equalizer in my app. The equalizer is a hardware figure needed to adjust the volume of specific frequency of audio signal. The adjustment
Let's just watch it. It's 3 minutes. Like.
works based on the audio input by either boosting or cutting off certain frequencies. And if we have a look at the block diagram of LA3600, we can see the basic of its operation. We can see it's made up from not so many components. C1 to C10 will be used to fix the resonance frequency of
These are capacitors.
condenser can vary slightly.
And you will see, like, capacitors are in a circuit. They are demonstrated like this, two lines like this. That's a capacitor. Как по-русски capacitor? Сейчас. Давай посмотрим. Сейчас. Translate. Condensator. And resistor will be resistor. Then. I like in Yandex Translate. It's really funny. Wait. I do this with Sirius a lot, and Sirius actually jokes like this already. If I go like, and I hear it, the second time, ah no, on the phone is different. In the second time on the phone, it's like, condensator. That maybe, I don't know, yeah, but so it's really, it's yeah, it's really funny. So you see, I mean, he's calculating all of this.
As an example, we know that IC has two internal resistors, R1 which is 1.2K and R2 which is 2.2K. Now the only thing remains to be added to our formula is the C1 and
So he describes it, and then look, you see, like these are the components.
for this circuit. I will be mounting everything on a prototype board which is often called as Vera board.
Call it.
As per the L06 IC on a Vera board and soldering. I recommend you to use a socket, but in my case I didn't have a 16-pin socket, but two 8-pin sockets work pretty well, I might say. The next step will be to add the rest of the components and soldering them to the Vera
So I mean, he goes and
circuit is ready. We can test the circuit by providing 12 volts or even 15 because the IC can stand up to 20 volts. After we can give out
so I mean, yeah, he goes and tests it, and yeah, he built an EQ. Look, like, look. Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's really, you're right. You're right. The cabling and everything, like it's a great question that you're asking. It's like, and is it a colored EQ? Like, will it change the character? Yeah, I mean, imagine, like, what now that you can see this, like, with your own, that you saw with your own eyes, how our friend there was building his equalizer. Like, think about it. Like, I mean, like, wait, like, think about it. Like, he hears. He's using, like, what is that metal? You see? That this no. I mean in his hand. Look at this. You see? Like, I don't know what that metal is. That when I told you that the soldering points, depending on which metal they are made of, they will change the frequency response or the spectral balance of the signal that is running through them. Like, if this thing is a low quality material, then all the connections of the EQ are going to affect the signal. And if it's gold, it's going to be 1-to-1. Whatever came in, it's whatever came out. Or silver, etc. That's why. Yes, no. So anyways, like, this is how it looks on the back. And I mean, then he tested it. Wait, he tested it and.
we get to the end of the video. If you have any idea for an upcoming video, leave your comment down below.
So now, look. Of course, you have heard me. I mean, those of you who has been in any mixing class with me or something, some of you sometimes came into some mixing class of the next year. You know that I absolutely love the Pultec EQP1. Like, I mean, it's my favorite thing in the world. It's this EQ. It's like, I just really love this EQ, like, very much. And I have used the real one, you know, in Budapest when I was working there. If you want to have a stereo Pultec EQ, like, each channel costs 800,000 rubles. So it's like left 800,000 rubles, right 800,000 rubles. Like, it's like 1,600,000 rubles for 2 channels of EQ. So this guy, it's also obsessed. This guy is also obsessed with the Pultec EQP, and he made a like a crowdfunding thing to kind of like create the kits of the parts and sell them so you can build your own EQP1. And this set of videos, it tells the whole story of how he made this and how he built it and the test and everything and how he got to run it and stuff. And no, I found out when the pre-orders were already. I found it when the pre-orders were already over and you couldn't do it. So yeah, that's where we stop for today. I think how to build EQs, and let's put this here. So on Wednesday we will do that exercise that I asked, and we will just review the calculations of the Q factor and all of that. I will study a bit so I get it right and I don't fuck it up, okay? So thank you very much. I hope that was useful and see ya. See ya. Thank you, guys.